Es geht auch hier um einen überragenden Wagen von Lotto Thüringen. Lasst euch da mal blicken. Es ist dieser schöne Wagen, wo wir gestern die Nummer
on the World Cup, Johnny Gustafson. And Johnny will take another look at this track, but how in one sentence would you summarize run number one?
In one sentence, I would
say... Well, you have up to 3 seconds.
I would say unexpected.
3 sentences.
Unexpected.
Unexpected, okay.
The track crew did a great job of keeping the track as fast and as well as they did. I think you could see the ice was much warmer this run than the first run. I think they may have turned the refrigeration off, so it's not going to frost up nearly as quickly.
Great graphics all year long as we get ready for the World Championships in Whistler. This is the second time the World Cup has come to Oberhof this year. Also 2 races here last year. And again, from top to bottom, thanks to Felix and Julian for these graphics and POV camera.
Yeah, like we talked about in that first run, it's great to see these POVs. But those upper curves really are flatter than they appear, and so getting those perfect, you really need to build speed going into this lower portion of the track. This track being as short as it is, every little mistake you make, whether it's just getting on the curves or getting off curves, a little rough, having a small tap, we see a lot happening in that exit of 13 in the first run, everything is going to cost you more than it needs to. See the POV coming up that braking corner into this final bit here. It's always fun having a corner after the finish line just to kind of enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and a big crowd there to greet you down there at the bottom here in Oberhof. Start list coming your way in a moment. The Latvians will lead things off. This is a team, Romanija and Bogdanova, who are 4th in the World Cup standings, but they had a lot of trouble in run number 1. They figured, just like that, to drop back a couple of spots in the points heading to the World Championships in Whistler. Bear in mind, as you see on the right side of your screen, just 0.06 of a second separating all 3 of those podium finishers. As the Austrians look to win 6 in a row, the Italians look to keep their momentum going, and the Germans try to get on top of the podium for the first time this season after 6 second-place results. That's just some of the drama leading up to, that's got to be Jessica's brother on the right. Was that, Johnny?
I believe it was, yeah.
Okay. I've never met him, but I mean, that's a dead ringer. Peter Pence, part of the success of this Austrian doubles program as he was as an athlete, winning an Olympic medal. Now Peter is one of the many coaches for Team Austria. So get ready for run number 2. It's 2 heats. It's a combined time. So because of that, this very talented Latvian team there with 4 podiums this season really has no shot to make it onto the podium because they don't start from scratch. They start with their 2.2 second deficiency. And Johnny, you've been there, I'm sorry to say. We've all been there, and the goal here is just to end the weekend with a clean run, right?
Yeah, for sure. Build some confidence. Make sure you know that you can do the track and just end well, like you said. They might still have a chance to do the mixed event, depending on what their selection is and everything. But it's good for us, unfortunately, because this is a team that slides very well and does well and has fast time. So I think we're going to be able to see right away, as long as they have a semi-decent run, of how well the track is holding up from the first round to second round.
Sure, and following up on that, Latvia will have 2 entries in the team event tomorrow in mixed doubles, so they pretty much are guaranteed their spot. How does that work any differently than team relay with the mixed singles and mixed doubles? For example, for your country, what's the qualification? How is it decided?
For us, it's the same as team relay. Little problems right there. Actually, I'm not entirely sure, but it's based, I think, on the better result, and then that's the better result from each discipline is how you make the team, since we'll have 2 teams.
Okay, and you had a career first podium, if I'm not mistaken, the first time we had mixed singles at the season opener in Lillehammer.
One of my first for the mixed event anyway, since that was the first one.
Well, you had done team relay.
I had done team relay before, yeah. But what's fun about the mixed event is how much it's another team sport that you get to do, and where we're always doing individual sports. That's why we love relay as well so much. So, little problems here for the Latvians, but this run, I feel like, was almost just a training run for them to get ready for tomorrow. So at this point, they're probably not going to climb any spots, barring some mistake from other countries going down the track. But having the confidence going into tomorrow where you will have another chance is going to be big.
These athletes in the early going right about 70 miles per hour down this track. It's a track with a lot of turns. It's one of those tracks that is called in this sport a technical track. And now the Romanians, Raluca Stramatraru, Mihaela Manolescu.
Yeah, it's always
13
fun.
years. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say it's always fun when we talk about tracks that are, somewhat slower. This is technically one of the slower tracks, but we're still getting speeds of around 70 miles per hour. So slow is a relative term for us.
Which other track would you say is most like this? Would it be Königssee, the one we hope to return to next year?
I would say Königssee is probably the closest. Yeah, maybe Sigulda as well, although not as intense as Sigulda. But it's just these, flowing tracks where you just have to let the sled run. Little big mistakes there from Raluca and Carmen. That's going to cost them.
And nearly turning it over out of curve 13. So the problems began in 11-12. Now they've got it together through the Kreisel and across the finish line. But the Latvians do move up at least one spot because the Romanians just put down a run that probably rivaled Latvia in the first heat in terms of biggest mistakes of the day.
Yeah, just the mistake here from that coming off of curve 11. Hunstad sled hitting that right wall and just skidding late into curve 12, and then you're just fighting through there. It made them go a little later in that curve 13, which they're coming out of right now. So they kind of came back up on the end and were pushed over to that right side.
So the two athletes from Sinaia, Romania, that's a mountain resort in Prahova County, they're done for the day. And we shift our attention to Ukraine. Alina Shtechkiv, 30 years old, from Lviv. Alexandra Molk is also from the city of Lviv in the western part of the country. She's just 20 years old. Their second year together on the World Cup in doubles.
Yeah, second year doing doubles again, just getting more and more experience, more and more runs, gearing up for next year. And that's kind of what this year is at this point. It's just building the confidence, building the speed, tweaking everything you can to be ready for the Olympics next year. You can tell.
Well, big
runs.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just saying, they're looking good on the sled. They're getting nice and early and onto these curves when they're not fighting that much at all. Little mistake here coming off. They're taking those mistakes and just kind of flowing with them. They're not let them get too far off.
Yeah, and great aerodynamic form for Alina in this straightaway to 14 and around the Kreisel. Big advantage. They'll hold their spot. No worse than 11th place today for Team Ukraine. They sit in the World Cup standings in 8th overall with a season best 7th place finish in Sigulda, which amounts to Ukraine's home track.
Yeah, they definitely have been consistent this year. Like you said, their best place being 7th and holding right around that 8th place. Little mistake there you see coming off that curve 11, but like I talked about, they're already back on line. Fighting a little bit more than you want going into curve 13. But again, they've been keeping it very consistent this season.
Hey, is this consistent? Is it always the bottom athlete that has to carry the sled?
It's pretty consistent throughout doubles. There are some times where they don't as much, but for the most part, the bottom athlete takes care of the transportation of the sled.
Is there any practical reason for that, or is that sort of just tradition?
I think it's tradition. I don't want to speak on the doubles behalf. I'll have to ask them about it, but I would amount it to tradition.
Team Poland, Nikola Domowicz and Dominika Piwkowska, 22, 21 years old. Championships, nice line between curves 13 and 14. And now to the finish, Poland.
I gotta say, that was
not too bad at all.
Great run by Poland.
So 42.987 was exactly a tenth of a just 1/100th of a second faster than run number one. Significant on a day that's getting warmer.
Yeah, being able to hold that speed and hold that essentially same time run to run. Again, it speaks to their consistency, speaks how well they're sliding together. The run was good. You can tell really trying for those paddles on the start.
And just to update some of our viewers, there have been some internet issues here in Oberhof, so I know some of you had a little bit of a delayed or a shaky streaming feed in the early going. They're working on that if it hasn't already been fixed. Hopefully it will be soon. And here is the first of the two American teams in today's women's doubles race in Oberhof, Germany. Maya Chan, Sophia Gordon. Maya and Sophie, both from the Midwestern U.S. area, Chicago, Illinois, Sussex, Wisconsin. Like so many American luge athletes, they're based for the most part in Lake Placid, New York, where there'll be a World Cup back on your home track next season, Johnny.
Yeah, in Lake Placid and in Park City next season. I know everyone's getting ready for that and getting excited. Definitely still focusing on the now, though. We have to, complete the rest of the season. And it's been fun having these girls with us for most of the season. Didn't do all the races this year and won't do all of them, but they have been sliding well and getting better and better each race.
Maya has been on the podium in her World Cup doubles career with Rayanne Weiler. It's always a bit of a transition when you bring in a new doubles partner. She did a nice little correction there in the straightaway to 14.
Yeah, pretty decent run, keeping it nice and close, just squeaking ahead, keeping ahead of the Polish team there. But
right, they gave away a little time to Poland here in run number two, but they'll hold on to their spot in the top 9.
And it's good, especially for Sophia, the new bottom woman, just getting this World Cup experience, getting these experience on a stage like this, especially with, like we said, with all the spectators here we have. It's definitely a change. It's something that you have to get used to, and it's good to get this experience.
One Italian team is in podium position, another one on the outside looking in. That's this team. Nadia Falkensteiner, Annalena Huber. Incidentally, there was a third Italian team, one of the youngest teams in all of luge. Oberstolz and Cola, I think it was, both teenagers who represented Italy in team relay. They had the best result of all 3 teams a couple of weeks ago in Altenburg.
It just shows how competitive that Italian field is for these women's doubles teams. It's going to be a fight for getting those top spots, and it has been going back and forth week to week.
Ooh, they had a big lead, and what happened there?
It's just unfortunate there off the end of 13, just that little tip over. It started with that exit of 11, just a little offline, too early height in the beginning, coming back up on the end, which threw them over. Let's see if they can at least cross the finish line.
Just short, it looks like. Yeah, the rule is you need to have contact with your sled. They did that. That's for not just safety purposes, but timing purposes. And then you need to cross the finish line without aiding the sled across. And look at that. That's about a meter short.
Yeah, just before you can see where it started, coming back up in the end, getting thrown over. You could tell she was really shying away from that wall and then hitting again right before being sent up into curve 12. Gave them a bad entrance at 13. They weren't able to correct it with all those big mistakes, just coming right back up in the end is that gentle tip over. Which
gentle, but
even if it's gentle, you're still going, like you said, close to 70 miles an hour here. It does not feel good.
Right, and the left knee, I think, was what took the impact. Nadia's left knee, so I hope that's okay. And we'll know tomorrow, because hopefully they'll be part of mixed doubles. Now the second of 2 Latvians, Anda Opeit, Zana Kaluma, 24 years old and 20 years old, both originally from the Latvian capital city of Riga, beautiful historic city.
And this is another team. Now we're getting into kind of these top 8. It really anything can happen with these teams. They've been trading spots back and forth, and it's been very competitive this year, which is always fun to see.
Zana Kaluma has a great outlook to her goals when she says her motto is, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, go. If you can't go, crawl, but never stop.
I think that's a great motto to have. Good correction there with that little wall touch. Almost sent them flying late into that Kreisel there, but they were able to hold it together.
125.201, the two-run combined time. The Americans move up one spot, but their run ends there as Latvia is out in front of the USA and Poland, still with the top 6 remaining at the top.
Now, we saw when they came up that finish line, when it came up, their run time was second place in the second run. I think their teammates, the other Latvian doubles team, have that first place time so far coming into this top 5, top 6 sleds. Shows you what they could have done with a clean run in that first run. And here we have a little bit of a change that you're talking about with the top woman carrying the sled instead of the bottom woman.
Right,
so there is
okay.
precedent for it going the other way.
And all of the other bottom women are going to remind their teammates of that. Elisa Starch and Paulina Potts of Germany. One thing that this German program, with all of its depth, has the luxury of doing is they stop from track to track, and they can introduce young athletes for just a week or two to the sport. And these are 2 area women from Thuringia, and they're in pretty good shape in 6th place after run number 1 with very little World Cup experience.
Yeah, you can tell that it's their home track and they're comfortable here. Their first run, they really threw down. Great run. You can learn a lot from it. And, you know, we're kind of seeing the almost Germans of old here with 3 Germans in the top 6 and all competing for a medal spot.
This one's tight, though. Only 0.02 of a second with the much more seasoned Latvian team down below, although they're opening it up a little bit down below.
Yeah, and able to hold it just ahead.
That's a great showing with their friends and their family here. It will be a top 6 for Storch and Potts.
Yeah, very happy with that result, it seems, and they definitely should be. Those were 2 very clean, consistent runs. They'll finish at least in the top 6, maybe be able to move up a spot or 2. So it's good to have. That's great for a World Cup for your home track.
If they stay there, that will match their World Cup career best, which was also here in Oberhof. This is only their 3rd ever World Cup race.
Yeah, and well done. Excellent sliding, keeping it calm in front of the home crowd. It's fun, exciting, but it can also be nerve-wracking. All your friends and family here, but it seems like they revel in it.
Second of the 2 American sleds now. They won the World Cup opener in Lillehammer, Norway. This is Siobhan Forgan, originally from Adelaide, Australia, and Sophie Kirkby, born in Middlebury, Vermont. Those 2 cities roughly 7,000 miles apart, but they both live in Lake Placid now. In fact, I believe Kirkby grew up right in the Lake Placid area.
Yeah, you're right, she did. And yeah, going back to what you're saying, season opener, getting that win, that was surprising to me to remember that is their first win, because they are on the podium just about every single weekend. So being able to pick up a win and finally get to the top of the podium this year is got to be huge. And you know, they've been showing how well they can slide. Their lines are consistent. They look good on the sled, pulling a fast start, and you can see they're just pulling away and away.
42.43 was their run 1 time, so it will be really interesting to see how this compares and whether they can make a move up. A 42.46, so just about a 1/10 of a second slower, but opening up their lead on everyone else. A top 5. That's been the case for these 2 Americans in basically every race this season, except for last week in Winterberg.
Yeah, definitely consistent in those top spots for sure. And this was a very good run. They had some smaller mistakes here and there, nothing too crazy. So it'll be interesting to see with the next couple sleds if the ice has slowed down a little bit, if the track has slowed down, or if they're just keeping it consistent.
The second of the three Germans now getting ready. Last-minute visualization and focus from that woman, Diana Eitberger, the Olympic silver medalist in 2018 from nearby Ilmenau. That's where Diana grew up, but now she and her partner and son live in Bavaria, which is where Magdalena Machina is from the well-known town of Berchtesgaden.
This team can definitely show speed when they slide well. They really like to push it with position, push it with lines, which is great to see. It can make them go fast, but every now and then it bites back. Our home track here, like you say, growing up around here, they know how to slide this track. They know how to do well. Diana has a wealth of experience on the sled, and she's been taking that over to doubles for sure.
1/10 of a second up at the last split. Now they've almost doubled that advantage over the USA. Still in this tricky exit coming up. Perfect.
Able to hold well. That's the fastest speed we've seen so far in the second run. You can tell she was fighting a little bit there on the entrance of Kreisel, but overall, great run.
First team to better 70 miles an hour, 70.2. And a little bit of a fist bump by the two teammates. 3 fist pumps by Diana. She still has a huge fan club here in Thuringia, despite moving to the Bavarian region of Germany.
Yeah, Diana struggled with consistency a little bit this season, so to throw down 2 great runs, at least going to have a top 4 here. You can tell how happy they both were with that. That was a great run, great race so far.
Just improving results throughout the season. They had 2 crashes, but in the 4 finishes, they finished 6th, 7th, 6th, and then last week 4th. And now they're in at least a top 4 position. Now they trail all of the next 3 sleds by a pretty wide margin. They were about 0.3 of a second out of the lead and over 0.2 of a second behind these, as you see there, 2300s behind Jessica Degenhart and Cheyenne Rosenthal. Can they finally do it? They have 6 second-place finishes already this year with no victories, but they still lead Egla and Kip by 1 win in the all-time World Cup count, 12-11.
I'm sure they at least have somewhat in mind as they're taking this run, but I mean, these girls are consistent. They're fast. They're, like you said, they're the all-time leading winners right now, and so they want to hold on to that.
A couple of former junior world champions in singles luge, and they won the world championship on the senior level in women's doubles on this track in 2023.
Yeah, so clearly have the pedigree to do well and keep doing well here. You can see them slowly pulling ahead of Eitberger, just little by little, getting more and more, a little offline there in Kreisel going into there, but not enough to really cost much.
42.117 in run number 1, 42.118 in the second heat. Talk about consistency and talk about another podium for the Germans, Jessica Degenhart and Cheyenne Rosenthal.
Yeah, obviously always good to be on the podium, and with runs like that too, you got to be happy. Small mistakes here and there, but nothing to really point out.
So, Johnny, only 0.003 of a second separated this German team now in the lead, with the Italians getting ready at the top. That's 0.003 of a second. And you'll recall that Vetter and Oberhof are set to start record in run number 1. Are they going to need to, if not better that record, at least be close again to hold off these Germans?
I think so. I mean, luckily they have the ability to do it. They are always fast on the start. And you can just tell the focus, the concentration, how powerful they look as they're pulling. But starting off in the red already, Degenhart and Rosenthal had a good start as well.
Yeah, we had to wait for that clock to stop, and as you see, they opened it up a little bit there.
Yeah, coming close to that start record again, only just under 100th off, and they are gaining time as they're going down the track. And it definitely helps having that fast start, just gaining all that speed right away.
Talk about gaining confidence with their first podium of the season, but not the best lines there, was it?
Oh, just a little. They tried to let it run. Oh! And there it goes right away.
This is going to put two Germans onto the podium. Uncharacteristic mistake as they fall back a couple of spots just ahead of the Americans, but behind Diana Eidberger and Lena Machina. So there's a German celebration down below. And just like that, a half hour ago, Johnny, I was talking about the smile from Andrea Vetter finally, but she's back to the head shake. Very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, after such a great first run, just that small mistake off 11 carried over into this curve 12. You can tell they went late into this curve 13, weren't able to catch it, got their height in the curve way too early, and so they're down and then coming right back up on the end. Honestly impressive from both of them to keep the sled going in the right direction and keeping the steels down, but, you know, that's not going to be good to them. They were in that medal spot. They definitely had it, and just a little bit away.
And no interest in even looking at the camera, even though the athletes, great sports. 4 Germans. So here's the drama. This team is in search of World Cup win 6 in a row. Selina Egla, Laura Kipp waiting down below, a quartet of Germans to see if they'll finally be on the top of the podium. In the last year or so, it seems as if Austria has spoiled the German party on all of the German tracks. So let's see what gives here.
They really have. It's starting in the red, but then already getting it back almost immediately. I should see green here, yeah, and there it goes. Their sleds and their sliding ability have just taken them as they work their way down the track. It's incredible how far they get ahead and how quickly it happens.
No mistake in your mind, they run away with it, right?
Exactly. I mean, fastest speed we've seen no other sled has hit that 114, and there it is.
This has been the most impressive display of domination in a number of seasons on the FIL World Cup Tour. Selina Egla and Laura Kipp. Was that the fastest time for the individual run? Yes, it was. So now 6 wins in a row, and I believe out of 7 races this year, they have won 12 of 14 individual heats. That's how amazing they've been.
Yeah, it's impressive to say the least. They slide well, fast sled, and they're able to keep it consistent, keep it calm. They know they want to be and belong at the top of the podium, and they show it almost every week.
We saw this from Max Langenhahn last season when he appeared to be unbeatable. Max did run out of steam a little bit at the end of the season, but boy, it seems as if these 2 talented women, there's no stopping this runaway train.
That's true. I mean, they're definitely the ones everyone's chasing and the one to beat. But like you said, that's what we saw with Max as well. And then he sometimes runs out of steam. And other nations and other athletes in other countries pick up steam. So it's, you know, obviously they've been dominating extremely well this year. But that's not to say everyone else is out of the count.
Austria with the victory. Germany with 3 in the top 6, including 2 on the podium. And despite some problems, Italy still holds off the United States. Those 2 nations finish in 4th and 5th place. We've got World Cup standings coming up in a little bit. Obviously, Selina and Laura will open up their lead on the rest of the world. Degenhart and Rosenthal, you got to feel for them, Johnny. 7 races, 6 second-place finishes, and the Austrians now move into a tie all-time with them, 12 each.
Yeah, it's almost funny to think that second place they're almost kind of disappointed with to keep getting that. But when you're striving for excellence and you're striving to be the top, not being on the top of the podium is kind of a disappointment.
Presentations being made. It was a breakthrough race for Lena Machina right there, smiling on the left of Diana Eidberger. Her first ever World Cup podium. That's huge.
Yeah, that's incredible. First podium for her, first podium for them as a team. And it's got to feel good. You got to feel like that's a good start for them and carry this momentum into World Champs that we're going to see in 2 weeks from now.
Jessica and Cheyenne will, of course, remain in second place in the World Cup standings as, what are these, little penguins, right?
I believe so, yeah, on these little luge sleds that they have. Always love the little gifts that they give out.
We've had penguins, we've had bunny rabbits, we've had headbands. You got chocolate in Lillehammer when you were on the podium. That had to be nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was definitely good to have. It might be penguin, might be a snowman actually.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see there he is
the
off
cat,
to the left
of course. Yeah, we get the real version of it. We'll try to get some interviews coming up in a moment. What more can Selena and Laura say? It's just a sort of a broken record, to use a 1970s term, as they're filing in, getting ready for women's singles a little later on today. Johnny, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much. Is that Natalie Geisenberger watching on hand? I believe it is. Johnny, thanks. As we check out these World Cup standings, 90-point lead now for Egla Kipp over Degenhart and Rosenthal. They certainly can't clinch it next World Cup in South Korea, but they can come pretty close to a clinching of that victory. In fact, they might be, with a win there, they could clinch it. Anyway, Johnny, again, thanks a lot. Best of luck to you tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun to get to watch from inside the booth here.
That's Team USA's Johnny Gustafson with the great call of the action here in women's doubles. Third place, breaking onto the podium for the first time as a new pairing, Diana Eitberger and Lena Machina. Second place for the sixth time this season, Jessica Degenhart and Cheyenne Rosenthal. And these two women, unstoppable over the past 2 months. Selena Egla and Lara Kipp, their sixth consecutive victory as they move into a first place tie all time with Degenhart and Rosenthal with 12 career World Cup wins. Hoping to get a few interviews before we transition into women's singles, which will come your way in about 20 minutes' time.
Guys, congratulations on the podium on your home World Cup. Quite a challenging track for you, or how was it today?
Yeah, of course. The whole season is challenging us, but I think every week we make one step more, and in the next 2 weeks there will be the World Championships, and maybe we can move on and be better as usual.
A pair of smiles from Diana and Lena as they finish third in today's competition. The crowd continues to file in as we hope to hear from our second and first place finishers in a few seconds here.
Guys, congratulations. Another podium here in Oberhof. Not quite what you expected. Last time here was also quite challenging. What's missing for you guys here?
I think what's missing for us, it's a bit unfortunate that we always get second. I mean, we're happy about getting on the podium like every week, but it's sad that we can't get to the top. But yeah, we will have World Championships next, and we will fight again.
Thank you guys. Congratulations.
That's the attitude you want to hear in this sport, and their standards are so high despite being in second place in so many races. They want the top of the podium. But that top belongs to the Austrians, Egla and Kipp, winning for the sixth time this season.
Guys, congratulations. Another incredible run here. Again, like last time we were here, a win. How do you feel?
It's unbelievable. I'm speechless that that's the sixth victory in a row. It's amazing.
Is that what we can expect for next time for the World Championship from you guys?
Oh, I think we take every race after this, because the Whistler is not our track. It's you need to start fast to be fast in this track. But we will see. It's in 2 weeks. We will look forward to it.
Thank you guys. Congratulations.
Celebratory Red Bull, as always, for the Austrians, now with 6 World Cup victories on the cusp of clinching the World Cup overall. They're the European Championships, and as you just heard, next stop, Whistler, Canada, in search of successfully defending their World Championship title. That closes the book on women's doubles, just the first of 3 races on this first day of action in Oberhof. Coming up in just a few minutes, it's women's singles. So until then, for Johnny Gustafson and our entire FIL television crew, I'm Tim Singer. We'll see you back here in Oberhof really soon.
Aber auch das muss man dir wieder zugestehen, Willi, du hast fast alles so vorausgesagt, wie es ist. Und das ist natürlich...
Ich kann das leider nur beim Rodeln und nicht bei den Lottozahlen. Das ist das große Problem, das ich habe.
Sehr geil. So, schön voll ist es schon, ne? Auch super, mehr als wir beim letzten Wettkampf hatten. Das freut mich total. Vielen Dank schon mal an alle Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, die jetzt schon hier in Oberhof sind, die von Anfang an mit dabei sind. Das ist großartig. Und wir richten auch gleich mal einen Gruß an alle aus, die so eine orangen